around decisions.
Yeah, but how does an Ironman feel as a 28 years old athlete and a 37 years old athlete? Is it a big difference? How does it feel?
I think I'm a lot stronger now than I was when I was 28, and I think it's a product of where I came. You know, at that age I was the best short course guy in the world, #1 ITU ranked athlete in the world. I was a world champion at the short distance. I was basically what Jan Frodeno is for the Germans now.
Yeah.
And I walked from the system, and I wanted to do Ironman, but there was no 70.3, there was no half Ironman distance back then. It was just World Cup and Ironman. There was no middle ground.
Yeah.
So when I came across to Ironman, I found that transition very, very difficult. I won my first race in Ironman, and it was probably the most painful experience of my life. It was horrific, and you know, I just didn't have the volume and the mileage in my legs. Now the guys like have this stepping stone with this 70.3 series. You know, look at Andreas and Michael Raelert, Craig Alexander. They came from the short course. They cut their teeth in the middle distance, and then they went to the Ironman. So I find it a lot. Now I have a base, and you know, I've been doing it for 8-9 years now, Ironman racing. I'm strong, and so I actually find it easier now than I did when I was 28, if that makes sense. Only because the base is there and the strength is there, and you know, it's a tough game. Yeah, it's a mentally tough game, and I think as you age, it suits you more. I think you're tougher mentally when you're older.
Yeah. Is it a question of mentally strength that you won this 2010 Ironman in Hawaii against Andreas Raelert? This last kilometers?
Yeah, I think it was a...
Was it a big mentally thing?
Yeah, I think I was just alert. You know, I'd been there so many times, and you know, I've been in Andreas' shoes, and I did interviews with the German press before the race, and basically to the Germans, he could not be beaten. You know, and I've worn that pressure before. The pressure of a nation on your shoulders is difficult, and I really tried to lay that pressure on him in every interview I did, and even before the race, you know, I sort of said to him, "Hey man, good luck. I'd hate to be in your shoes." You know what I mean? Like, and I just think I played a smart game. I saw him as the guy to beat. I saw Rasmus Henning, and I actually saw Marino and Timo. Those were the main guys I was worried about. And when we put Rasmus out of the equation, I saw Timo was out of the equation. And Andreas had singled himself out from Marino. I knew he was the guy who just had to be clever, and I think more so I was tactically smarter, and he's going to learn that. He's new to the Ironman game. But I was just tactically, you know, Ironman's 8 hours of racing, but a single moment wins the race. Not, you know, if you think of Andreas and I were together for 8 hours, but for 300 metres I made a move that ultimately won me the race. So it's not that I spent 8 hours to finally squeeze that minute and a half out of him. It was one moment, and I've learned that over years of racing. You need to make sure that moment or that card falls in your place and make the move at the right time. And I just think I was very, very alert the whole day. I knew what he was doing. I knew where he was coming, and I was very prepared for the move. So I think tactics, smarts, race experience won me the race this year, because physically I think we're both very, very similar. It's ultimately the same time. You know, we cross the line a minute apart. It's over that type of distance. We're the same. You know?
Was it the moment when Andreas took this energy bar?
Drink.
The energy drink. Was this moment we waited for, or was it surprising you that he did this?
No, I waited. Well, I thought he was going to catch me with 10 miles to go. I thought he's going to catch me. He was taking some time out of me, so I took a rest. I thought, okay, don't be stupid. Just accept that he's going to catch you, and then when he does, we'll run together, and I'll but rest and take nutrition on, and I was expecting him to catch me with 6 miles to go. And when you're an athlete and it's 7 hours into a race, it's very emotional, physically and emotionally. You're very fatigued. So when you make a decision like that, it's relief. You're like, okay, he's going to catch me. And like I said, I thought he'd catch me with 6 miles to go. When I got to 6 miles to go, he hadn't caught me. So for me, it's a massive boost. You know, you think, wow, that's great. And then he was 30 seconds back, and I thought, okay, he catches me with 5 miles to go, I'll keep resting. And then 5 miles to go, he still hadn't caught me, and I was like, wow. And you really start to feed off this energy, because you're both fatigued. You know, it's a very, very draining place. And so, if 5 miles to go, he hadn't caught me, and then I thought, okay, he's going to catch me with 4 miles to go. That's going to be great. I can run 4 miles hard. And with 4 miles to go, he was 12 seconds behind. And again, I was like, bonus. And that's when I could hear all the people cheering for him, and I knew that if I could just keep the pace, I was starting to feel very good, because I'd rested not when I say rested, but I'd really taken off the pace. And I knew I could go quicker, because I was expecting him to come, and I'd run with him. And so I slowly started to pick it up a bit, and he ran across that 12 seconds very, very quickly. And I'm doing the math in my head going, well, it took him, he was running 6 seconds a mile out of me, he just took 12 seconds out of me in 1 mile. He pushed too hard, because you're looking for positives. And then I made a move on the hill, and I gapped him, and I looked back and I thought, well, there's 6 or 7 seconds, and it took him a mile to run that. So I keep the pace on, and again, the people around, which is the German people, the press, come on, Andreas, and it makes you do things sometimes when you're drained that you shouldn't do. You should have been smarter. And he ran across, and he took a deep breath when he caught me, and we crested the hill. We had 2 kilometres to go at the top of the hill. We turned right, and I was expecting a sprint along the Leahy Drive. I thought, I'm going to sprint this guy with 200 metres to go, And when we came down the hill, he yelled for Coke and water, and I looked at him, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, fuck. So I really wanted him to go for the Coke and water. And so we were on the inside, on the right-hand side. I pushed him across, because when you're running down for water, if your arm length is very far out, it's easy to keep your momentum. But if you have to, if you have to come in because the person's there and you lose your momentum, it's difficult to pump your arms again. So I really squeezed him across to make him try and go for that. I hoped he would go for this water. I might just go for the water. I bait him, and I got him really close to the lady holding the water. I could see her. I could see him out of the corner of my eye, and his arms, when he went to get the water, instead of being like this, when you keep running, he was very close to her. And the minute his hands went up, I took off, and by the time he came, I was 10 metres again. But this time I was all in. I was like, this is it, and that was pretty much, it's a difficult point in the race. Like I said, you're close, you're fatigued, mentally and physically. You've got a downhill run, and I knew if I could keep the leg speed up, he'd hold close, but it would be very difficult on the flat section, and that's where I ultimately broke him. But that was definitely the point where I decided to make the move. But I think it was emotionally for Andreas, the chase, to be gapped again, to get back on, and then to be gapped again. It's tough mentally.